So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Alspaugh, and we'll start this service this afternoon by remembering that this is a community, that we are here with and for each other. So I invite you to rise and greet those around you. Just a word or two is enough, and don't forget to greet them with your eyes. We'll take just a moment. We'll just take a moment. And so we welcome Beth Mason and Sue Bryan as guest musicians today. Beth is a retired Unitarian Universalist music director and is now organizing the choir for the No Tyrants Rally on March 28th. We'll say a little more about that later. And here they offer a piece from Claude Bowling's Suite for Flute and Jazz Piano Trio.
Thank you so much, Beth and Sue. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lake Chapala Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm Blanco, serving as today's service associate. This afternoon, Reverend Matt Alspaugh will share our message. We're so glad you're here, whether you come seeking connection, inspiration, or simply a moment of peace. Whether you come seeking community, reflection, or renewal, may this time together offer you a sense of calm, belonging, and spiritual nourishment. Our opening words this afternoon are by Lena Westbrook. In a world ravaged by violence, by hatred, by conflicts that seem eternal and insoluble, sometimes the only thing we can do is be still for a moment, to remind ourselves what is real. The sun that rose this morning, the dirt under our feet, the air whispering in and out of our lungs. This hour try just to be present in each moment as it unfolds. Your simple attention is what makes these moments holy. If you are new and would like to receive our newsletter and other emails, please talk to a member of the welcome team or write to us at info@lcuuf.org. Would members of the welcome team please stand up? And we have also a couple of special announcements. After the service today, we will have small group meetings to begin to think about our future. We hope you can join us. Matt will say a bit more later. Secondly, Beth, who you just met, is leading a choir for the No Kings Rally for Democracy on March 28th. The choir is rehearsing right here on this Friday and next at 10:30 a.m. We'd love your voice at any level. Please speak to Beth after the service. And of course, whether you are new to our fellowship or are a long-time participant, know that you are all welcome and that we are glad you are here with us. Is there anyone who's visiting us for the first time or has returned or reconnected with us after a long absence? We'd love to know that. So when the mic is ready to be passed, if you are willing, please raise your hand and the mic will be brought to you. We ask that you speak your name into the mic and tell us where you are from. If you are on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat box and it will be read aloud in the fellowship. We'll start with people in the room.
My name is Leela. I'm Devorah's daughter, and I'm visiting from Oaxaca.
Hi, I'm Jem, Leela's partner, and I guess son-in-law sort of Devorah, also visiting from Oaxaca.
Good morning. My name is Carol. I'm here from Ontario, Canada, for the first time in this community. I have been in this chapel, this church before, and it's a lovely space and it feels very calm. I'm really glad to be here.
I'm not seeing any names on Zoom. Are we done in the congregation?
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Just one more left. Yeah, I'm Dan. Okay. Hey, everybody. My name's Dan Smith. I'm from Glenwood Springs, Colorado. I'm a snowbird, living here in the wintertime and in Glenwood in the summertime. I'm also a neighbor of Matt's at Lomas de Lago, and look forward to his talk, his presentation, and have for a while. I've known him for a long time, so I'm glad to be here and experiencing this with you all.
Okay, finish with those in the congregation. I'm not seeing any new names on Zoom. So welcome to all visitors, members, and friends. Here at LCUUF, each week offers something unique, reflections from our minister, Reverend Matt Alspaugh, as well as insights from members and guest speakers. We warmly invite you to return and journey with us through this ever-unfolding landscape of thought, spirit, and belief. Our chalice lighting words today are by Lori Stevens. With this chalice, may we kindle the flame of our attention. Not too fiery or wild, spreading without cause or care. Not too dim or fading, unfocused and ineffective. But like a cheerful cockfire in a cozy hearth, like a comforting candle, flickering yet steady. May our attention be befriended, directed, and sustained for the betterment of all humankind. Now having lit our chalice, let us sing these words together.
So each week we come together to lament with, to celebrate with, and to care for one another in this community. We come to this service as whole people, not just Sunday versions of ourselves. Each week we take a few minutes to acknowledge and share what's real in our lives. There is power in the sharing and as we hold each other in community. So this is a time to briefly share a joy, a sorrow, or a milestone. Just a sentence or two is enough. And we'll begin here in the room. And then this will give time for the folks on Zoom to write in the chat box if they have joys and sorrows to share. So we'll start with sorrows, not because they matter more, but so that we can hold each other with special care. And after that, we'll share our joys or whatever is bringing you gladness. So if something feels important to you and you're ready to name it today, then we're ready to listen. And as the mic is passed, please share your sorrows, sadnesses, whatever you may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts. One thing, for those of you that do choose to share, hold the microphone like a rock star. It makes it easy for us to all hear. Are there any joys or sorrows in the room? I think Tim.
Yeah, my name's Tim, and just thoughts for my wife's aunt, who's 97 in New York, and just is not doing particularly well. So Norris asked if we could remember her this morning.
This isn't so much a sorrow as, well, I guess it is a sorrow. So for those of you that know Colleen Beery, she was supposed to be arriving here this week, but because of some health issues she needs to deal with, we won't see her until August, and that makes me sad.
Hi, I'm Teresa Sandy, and I have a mixed joy and sorrow. So the sorrow is that Fred and Mardell's wonderful company over the last couple of months will no longer be with us. And the joy is that we've had their company for the last couple of months, and it's so, so wonderful.
Are there any sorrows that were shared on Zoom this afternoon, Mike?
Yes, there's a sorrow from DA Mexico. And my biggest sorrow today is the war going on in the Middle East that the U.S. has started. My heart hurts. And that was from Terry. And that's all.
And now your joys or any other milestones that you may be celebrating, whether it evokes within you a feeling of joy, peace, or gladness. And so again, we'll start in the room.
Hi, I'm Sharon, and I know I'm not thought of as brief, so I'm going to try to make it very brief. It's a joy because I don't want any of you to be shocked in probably 2 weeks, not next week, but because I'm doing a continuing ed class next week, but so I won't be here. My husband, who was on, I thought no one would ever see him again, and many of you wanted to, and his kids thought they were saying goodbye to him, and through the miracle of doctors in Guadalajara and the head nurse at Casa Nostra, I walked in on Friday and he had FaceTimed, hasn't done that on his own, FaceTimed on his iPad his daughter, and was telling me that the guy who he's just met at his new place said, "We've got Steve back." And he said, "Gary said I had him back." So again, if any of you want to give up on people who have some form of dementia, make sure you know what you're giving up on, and don't be shocked when he walks in the door, he's not a ghost.
Yeah.
I would just say, I sure enjoyed the music, very, very pleasant. Thank you for that, joyful music.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hi, I'm John. So our joy is that our daughter Paige is visiting this week, and it mixes with a joy and a concern. Her dog Rosie has a torn ACL, and the dog is visiting to get medical care here. Paige will hopefully be moving down in October. So.
I'm not going to stand because I never know which way to face. I'm Devora, still Devora, and I have a huge joy that my daughter and her partner have been here for a week. They're leaving tomorrow. But my biggest joy is I walked into my mom's nursing home before coming to the fellowship, and Leela and Jem had gone over earlier, and Leela was engaging my 102-year-old mother, and my mother was responding. Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah.
I'm Mardell Harland, and my joy is that we've been here for 6 weeks in this wonderful place, staying with Teresa and John in their wonderful home, and it's been wonderful to be back again. And it's been special because this time we got to spend quite a bit of time with Trudy, Fred, and Devora, reminiscing about how this fellowship started. And that has been very special, and also to participate in the 20th anniversary service. And I think probably Fred wants to add a word.
And obviously she told me what to say. I'd just like to say ditto to that. It's been wonderful being back. And next year, thanks to Teresa, we're going to stay a little bit longer and be 8 weeks next time. We really look forward to being back here. It's been wonderful for us.
Hello. Another John, in this case, John Adams. Teresa and I missed the 20th anniversary celebration of this fellowship last week because I had to run back to Canada on an urgent health matter, and the joy is things got checked out and I'm in better shape than I thought I was going to be. All right. All right. And we're glad to be back, but also there's a little bit to share this today, but we leave before the next service. So we'll be back. The plan is we'll be back in June, and we want to share that with everyone. So, and for those of you like me who have to worry about some heart-related issues, happy to report that the American Heart Association and other organizations have just 2 days ago issued new guidelines. You really got to crank down that bad cholesterol. That's a message to my friends who share with me the journey about cardiac health.
We had a little cardiac excitement this week. My husband's stent was 80% blocked, which isn't cool. And with wonderful care at San Javier Hospital in Guadalajara, he's back, he's better, it's fixed. He's right here.
Sorry to double dip this morning. Just so many joys just being here today. First thing was getting a good hug from Mark. A two-armed hug that was, and then the music was just spectacular. A wonderful conversation with Wiley about spirit. A great connection with John and Diane over there. And then just sort of the sense of caring that we have in this community. You know, we're living in such a challenging time, are we not? And so to have this each week to strengthen our hearts is just a wonderful gift. And I'm just overflowing with joy this morning. And thanks to all of you.
So are there any joys to be shared on Zoom this afternoon?
Yes, we have two joys. One from Julie Peterson and Terry Rosen, and they both commented the music was amazing.
Mm-hmm. And so we light this candle to represent the joys and sorrows spoken and witnessed today, as well as those that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. Let us share a moment of silence.
Today's reading is by Reverend Victoria Stafford, a UU minister in Minneapolis. In a cemetery stone once, an old one in New England, I found a strangely soothing epithet. The name of the deceased and her dates had been scoured away by wind and rain, but there was a carving of a tree with roots and branches, and among them the words, quote, "She attended well and faithfully to a few worthy things," unquote. At first this seemed to me a little meager, a little stingy on the part of her survivors. But I wrote it down, and I have thought about it since. And now I can't imagine a more proud or satisfying legacy. Quote, "She attended well and faithfully to a few worthy things," unquote. Every day I stand in danger of being struck by lightning and having the obituary in the local paper say, for all the world to see, she attended frantically and ineffectually to a great many unimportant, meaningless details. How do you want your obituary to read? Quote, "He got the dishes done and dried before playing with his children in the evening." She balanced her checkbook with meticulous precision and never missed a day of work. Missed a lot of sunsets, missed a lot of love, missed a lot of risk, missed a lot, but her money was in order. She answered all her calls, all her email, all her voicemail, but along the way she forgot to answer the call to service and compassion and forgiveness first and foremost of herself. He gave and forgave sparingly, without radical intention, without passion or conviction. She could not, or would not, hear the calling of her heart. How will it read? How does it read? And if you had to name a few worthy things to which you attend well and faithfully, what, I wonder, would they be?
So there's this Zen tale in which which was the basis for the title of this service. Attention, attention, attention. So one version of this tale goes like this. So Master Ikkyu was a well-known Zen teacher in China, in ancient China. Now the emperor's minister, functionary or whatever, was troubled, and he went to see Master Ikkyu to get some advice. So he said, "Master, the people are unruly and difficult to govern. Please give me a word of wisdom to help govern them." And so the master picked up his brush and silently wrote one word: attention. This minister was a little confused and said, "Is that it? I asked for wisdom and you give me just this one word?" And so the master wrote, "Attention, attention." The man grouses, "That doesn't seem profound at all." So Ikkyu writes, "Attention, attention, attention." Some versions of this tale end up with the minister saying in frustration, "What do you mean by attention?" And the master simply says, "Attention means attention." Which I wonder might be an addition to that, just to emphasize the inscrutability and paradox of the Zen mind. But setting that part of the story aside, the message is about how we might attend to things. How do we give things or people our full attention, and when do we not? So in our Greet Your Neighbor thing that we did at the beginning of the service, and I know some of you are great fans of that and others are not. I asked you, maybe you didn't hear me because everybody jumped up and started greeting before. I asked you to look in the eyes of each other, of the neighbors that you greeted, and were you able to do that? Yeah. So I remember many years ago attending a party at the Unitarian Universalist Association's General Assembly, their annual gathering, nationwide gathering, shortly after I became a minister. And yeah, we partied hard in those days at those events. And I was doing my usual thing, you know, talking to somebody, but also kind of scanning the room to see if, you know, old friends or classmates might be going by, somebody better to talk to, you know how that goes. And I was chatting with this one minister, and she surprised me by giving me her full attention. Her eyes were on my eyes. They did not waver. And I was so struck by this. She was listening to every word. I was even a little humbled after we finished our little conversation. And I belatedly tried to begin to do some degree of this same kind of, offer some degree of this kind of attention to other people as I continued partying. And if I remember to do it, I still try to do it to this day, to give my full attention to whoever I'm talking with or to whatever I'm doing. But it's hard, isn't it? Especially in these days. There are so many distractions in our world that it's usually this distractions in my pocket. And you know how that is, oftentimes at the dinner table, instead of talking, looking at the phone. So, a little video.
I think there's something very profound and maybe irreversible happening to human attention in the digital age. I think it's more than just distraction, and it's more than even just addiction. It could actually be the defining political and moral challenge of our time. I wanted to start with kind of clearing the ground with an observation that Herbert Simon made in the 1970s. When information becomes abundant, attention becomes the scarce resource. This is an observation that I think we're only just starting to understand what it means for human life and society. But this whole environment that has emerged in the last several years to compete for our attention in scientific, systematic ways is often called the attention economy. If you think about the goals that you have for yourself, your life, today, this week, this year, they're probably things like, I want to spend more time with family. I want to learn how to play the piano. I want to take that trip I've been thinking about and reflect on my life. You know, these are real human goals. But if you look at the goals that technologies have for us, they're not usually these things. They're things like maximize the amount of time we spend with them, time on site, or the number of clicks, the number of times we can scroll or tap, the number of page views or ad views, things like this. There's a deep fundamental gap here between, the goals we have and the goals our technologies have for us. And so I think there is this kind of inconvenient truth that we either kind of ignore or maybe don't know about a lot of the time, which is the attention economy, by and large, is not on our side. Its goals are not our goals. We kind of trust these things to be GPSs for our lives, but really they're directing us toward these petty kind of engagement goals. And this is very well known by the people who create them. The CEO of Netflix a little while back said, in addition to Snapchat and YouTube, one of their major competitors was sleep. Steve Jobs did not let his children use the iPad, right? So broadly speaking, what's happened in the last couple of decades is our knowledge of psychology, particularly our non-rational biases, kind of these vulnerabilities in our brain, non-rational dynamics of decision-making. We've developed an enormous catalog of these things. And at the same time, this system has emerged on the internet, a system of measurement, message delivery, optimization, experimentation. And these two kind of trends have come into conversation now in the attention economy. What this means now is that this industrial scale persuasion is now the primary business model of our first really major global communications medium. And this isn't widely talked about. We still call companies like Facebook or Twitter social media companies, but they're not selling social media, they're selling our attention. But I think another factor that makes this so urgent, because this power to shape people's attention, to persuade people toward one end or another, is increasingly centralized in the hands of just a few people, a few companies in one state, in one country. It's a weird irony that the whole point of the internet was that it was decentralized in its infrastructure, but then the platforms that have emerged on it have been so centralized. So literally there are people who would probably fit in this room who have their hands on levers that can control the attentional habits of over 2 billion people on planet Earth. What I realized when I was working at Google is looking across the industry at the state of the attention economy and how little it was being talked about in society, and then feeling its effects in my own life, honestly. That, there was more technology around me than ever before, but it was harder somehow to do what I wanted to do. I felt we had made the same mistake that Aldous Huxley talked about when he was lamenting that the defenders of freedom in his own time had failed to take into account man's almost infinite appetite for distractions. I want to suggest that, if we're at all serious about promoting freedom or autonomy in the digital age, it's really urgent for us to look at this situation and to start taking into account our infinite appetite for distractions. I think what that would entail is starting to assert and defend our freedom of attention.
Good.
So I love these short videos from the Royal Society of Arts in London. And I think this one about the attention economy is spot on. How a small number of companies now control the attention of billions of human eyeballs, and how those companies monetize our attention, converting our attention into profit. How they compete for our attention against more worthwhile pursuits, even sleep. But this video is 5 years old. In the tech world, that is the distant past. 5 years was before artificial intelligence, before AI became a thing. And AI is a huge thing, showing great promise to make the world better. And I admit, I used AI to assist in researching this sermon. So I think it's a wonderful thing. And yet, for all its promises that AI brings, AI is part of the attention economy. It joins social media and internet search in competing for our attention. Certainly there are many things to worry about with AI. Consider AI's ability to hallucinate, to make up random answers to the questions we ask. Or consider how easy it is to prank AI into giving false information, as a BBC reporter did last week, persuading both ChatGPT and Google Gemini to believe and share false information about his competitive hot dog eating prowess. One more worry is that AI can be quite prolific in producing written materials. In the past, people might have sent me a simple bullet list of their thoughts, but now they run their ideas through AI and produce many paragraphs, even pages of material. And so we have to devote more and more attention to wade through all this material than we did in the days before AI. And as was mentioned in the video, when information becomes abundant, attention becomes a scarce resource. I feel it. So it remains to be seen whether companies that develop AI tools will learn from the mistakes that have been made by the social media companies, or whether they will learn instead how to make AI tools even more insidious, more effective at acquiring our attention and selling it for cash. Let's remember that our attention is precious. Let's be careful with where we put it. Let's try to aim our attention more towards the real world, filled with real people and real activities, rather than those virtual worlds behind the screens of our devices. So I want to take us into a brief time of meditation. Actually, this is going to be a little bit longer than a brief time because some of you have asked for longer meditation times, and you can argue with me about that later. But so what I want to do is, this is actually a couple meditations. The first is, I want to invite you to just get comfortable in your seat and to simply look at this chalice flame here. Just look at the flame. Bring your attention to that flame. And I'll ask our camera folks to maybe zoom in on one of those flames for the folks on Zoom. So just bring your attention to that flame. Look closely at that flame. You might even pick a little part of the flame to look at, maybe the tip or the smoke coming from it or whatever. So just try to focus on the flame. And if your mind wanders, bring it back to the flame. And if your mind wanders, as it almost certainly will, don't get annoyed with yourself. Just come back to the flame. That was part one. And now to a different kind of meditation. Different one entirely. I invite you to close your eyes, or if you're uncomfortable doing that, to soften your vision. And I invite you to just feel the sensations in your body. The pressure of your body on the chair, your feet on the floor. Maybe notice the contact of your clothes on your body. Maybe notice any kind of internal sensations, even aches or pains, as well as just ordinary other situations. And what I invite you to do is to not try to visualize these as places in a kind of internal outline of your body, but rather just feel them as they are, as a kind of cloud of sensations with no specific location. Notice sensations coming and going. Just notice them. And now let's turn to sounds. Let's notice the sounds in the room. Sounds outside the room. Maybe even sounds in your own body. Notice these sounds and don't really try to identify what they are, but just notice them as if they were there for the very first time. You were hearing them for the very first time. And again, don't try to place them anywhere inside your mind, outside your mind, your body, the room, the outside world. Just notice the sounds as if for the very first time. All the while, continuing to notice the sensations in your body, the touch, feelings. And now let's add our visual field. Even with your eyes closed, you probably still are seeing some kind of colors, images of some kind, maybe pattern in the back of your eyes, front of your eyes, whatever. Just take a wide view of whatever it is you're seeing. Just take it in, again, not trying to focus on any one particular part that might be showing up, but the whole visual field. And let's continue to look at this visual field, all the while listening to sounds and feeling the body sensations, just for a minute or so more. And if the mind wanders, just come back to this cloud of sensations. And let us return to this time and place to be together again. So this little meditation exercise illustrated two quite different types of meditation. The first was a kind of a concentration meditation, focusing deeply but narrowly on an object like the candle flame. Sometimes people focus on other things, the breath, for example. But after that, we broadened out into kind of an open awareness meditation where we paid attention to many different things at the same time without focusing on any one thing. So this distinction between broad attention and narrow focus is what psychologist Alison Grofnick called lantern consciousness versus spotlight consciousness. And so the attention required for lantern consciousness goes wide, taking in everything. It's the attention that small children give to the world, trying to apprehend everything at once. On the other hand, with spotlight consciousness, we focus our attention on one specific thing, like a narrow spotlight beam. It's the kind of attention that we're trained to do in school. And it's the kind of attention that society rewards us, most of us, in our jobs and professions. But I think we crave a balance of both kinds of attention. One of the reasons that many of us like to travel to exotic and unfamiliar places is that in such places we're forced to engage our lantern consciousness. We are like small children again, seeing a completely new world. So we have to take a wide view, taking everything in all at once, which makes such travel enjoyable. So here's a question. Could we find spotlight versus lantern consciousness in the arts? Perhaps in music? A couple of days ago, I attended the Lake Chapala Orchestra program, Who Needs a Conductor, led by Michael Reason. Now, some of you know that Michael used to be the music director here at LCUUF before the orchestra took all of his time. So in that program, he reminded us that it is the conductor who is the one that keeps the orchestra unified, and there are just too many musicians for them to stay together on time without the conductor. And so all eyes are on the conductor. Everyone is giving the conductor their spotlight attention. Now compare orchestral music to more improvisational music like jazz or blues. In these improvisational forms, the musicians all have to pay attention to each other and not just to the score. You have to pay attention to what your fellow musicians are doing. So I recently went to a jazz concert here in town, and the musicians were frequently looking at each other, reading what the others were doing, trying to figure out where they were going musically. And this was kind of a lantern attention as they had to follow everything going on all at once. And when I chatted with one of the musicians afterward, he said, well, the group hadn't really worked together before, so they had to pay extra attention in the moment. So let's consider the piece that we heard in the beginning, Claude Bolling's Baroque in Blue. It starts out with a classical form with kind of counterpoint harmonies and a lot of structure and complexity, and then it shifts to a much more wide open, more improvisational jazz and blues style. So Beth and Sue will reprise just a brief piece of this for you so you can kind of remember that. So I think one of the reasons that Bolling's Suite for Flute and Jazz Piano Trio was so popular was that it combined classical and jazz into a kind of a crossover form, a kind of a middle way. It mixed the spotlight attention and lantern attention, drawing from the strengths of both. And in so doing that, it became immensely popular and a beloved piece from the 1970s. And so I think our approach to attention too, we too ought to consider both narrow and wide, crossing over as we need to. Sometimes we focus our attention narrowly on our conversation partner or our task at hand. Other times we get to go wide, catching everything going on. If we meditate, whether with concentrated focus or open awareness, we too can pay deep attention. I mean, it seems like such a little thing, this paying attention, so very ordinary, so very everyday. But I think about that epitaph that Victoria Safford found in that cemetery. She attended well and faithfully to a few worthy things. She attended. She paid attention to a few worthy things. And like Safford, I wonder if about the few and worthy things I will be remembered for. But beyond that, I wonder, am I attending well and faithfully to those worthy things? These are questions you might want to pose for yourself. Am I attending well and faithfully to a few worthy things? So we've been talking about paying attention as individual people, but I wonder what paying attention might look like for a group of people, a community, an organization like this fellowship. How does an organization do a good job of attending to all that's going on around it, as well as attending to the people in the organization, the people that make it up? So just like individual people, organizations can get distracted, focusing on things that are just not that important or not central to their role. Oftentimes, distractions show up as conflicts within the organization. And too often, these conflicts are about the smallest, most inconsequential things. A colleague of mine calls these kinds of conflicts fake fights. They take our attention away from the important things, like the real purpose of the organization. So in Unitarian Universalist congregations, I've seen such fake fights over things like what kind of music is appropriate for Sunday service, or what color to paint the meeting room, or who gets to decide which charities to donate money to. These kinds of conflicts can distract from us focusing on the real mission of the congregation. Which brings up a related question. What is the real mission of this congregation? What is it that we should really be paying our attention to here at LCUUF? We don't really have a defined mission, a mission statement, and yet, yeah, it is true there was one written up in the early days, 20 years ago, but that one's been all but forgotten, and that was then and this is now. So although we may have a pretty good sense about what we're about, what our mission is, it would be good to put that into words. So we're starting this process trying to think about what our mission might be like today, right after the service. And Marcia is going to say a few words about what we're doing and invite you into this, right?
Am I? Okay. Good morning.
They'll take care of you.
Oh, hello. Good morning. I'm Marcia Boley, and I'm the current secretary for the board. And I'm really excited that today is our inaugural first cottage meeting, where we will be meeting with those of you who signed up for today to start working and thinking about our mission and vision, our mission for the LCUUF of today and into the future. And everybody's voice is really important to that, both either through cottage meetings and the survey, or cottage meetings or the survey. So we're really excited that you are working on that, that we're all working on that together today. What I wanted to say, there's another cottage meeting here on April 5th, which is Easter Sunday, but it's in the afternoon. And so if you didn't get to come to today's, please sign up for that one. If you want to stick around today, we have a few extra spots open for people who weren't able to make it today. And you can let Devora know that. And Devora, everybody knows Devora. Will you just stand up? Devora is going to be standing outside after, and if you would check in with Devora immediately after the service at the welcome table, she will let you know if you are staying today. She will let you know which facilitator you get to spend a little bit of time with and where to get pizza. And if you want to sign up for April 5th, we'll have the sign-up sheets there at the welcome table as well. And let's see, I think that was everything I needed to say. Is that correct? Did I miss anything? All right, thank you, Matt.
Excellent. So, short meeting, food, what's not to like? Pizza. So, thank you for your attention today. We have a closing hymn, which is Spirit of Life, which many of us consider to be the signature UU hymn. Many of you likely know this song. We sang it just a few weeks ago. But we've taken this hymn, which is really a personal prayer of the composer, Carolyn McDade, and changed the words slightly. You know we do that. We just changed the word me to us. This is a suggestion of Reverend Kimberly DeBoos that shifts this prayer from the individual to the beloved community, a message of hope for all of us. So please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing. We'll sing it through twice, but remember, it's different, so pay attention. The words will be on the screen.
No.
And so as we leave this gathering and move into the coming days, may we practice this art of attention, at times attending widely and openly to everything in this world around us, unified, interconnected, and at times focusing intensely on that one person, that one thing right in front of us, so important to us right now in this moment. For to love the world and the things in the world, we must pay attention to them. Attention means attention. May we practice just that. Blessed be. So, we come to an especially important, sacred part of the service, that time when we manifest our generosity and care through the act of giving. There is some question about whether the offering should fall in a Sunday service. Some want it at the beginning, and in many denominations, the offering is typically taken at the very end of the service after the sermon. I've learned that in the days of traveling, circuit-riding ministers, that part of all of the offering would have been given to the preacher. So good preaching was rewarded after the fact by the offering, kind of like a tip at a restaurant meal. Well, we don't do that. I don't get a cut. In fact, LCUUF as a congregation, a fellowship, doesn't depend on the offering for our internal support. Instead, we give the money we receive to the community around us. So through these offerings, we help support 6 charitable organizations here at Lakeside, doing the work in food security, education, and the environment. So for the month of March, we're highlighting Food Bank Lakeside, which provides food support to some of our poorest neighbors around here. The information's on the monitor. And you're now invited to participate in the blessing of giving as we pass the baskets, we have ushers who are coming up. However, if you're new with us or you are struggling to keep things together, then we invite you to let the basket pass. You are our guest here, and we are grateful for your presence. May our generosity sustain and grow the life and work of this congregation, and may we give in love and hope for a better world. And now extinguishing the chalice with Mike.
Let us extinguish our chalice with these words, which we do together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of commitment, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world.